Yeah, I have a book called, it's a historical novel, came out in October. It's called Like Water for Weary Souls. And so it's actually, so I write a lot of about Finnish immigrants because I'm a Finnish Canadian and I'm really interested in my ancestors and the Finnish history and like I'm first generation Finnish Canadian on one side and second on the other side. And so this book is set in the 30s in the Depression era in my hometown of Sudbury, which is in Northern Ontario. And I came across this really great nonfiction book about immigrant women in Canada by this researcher called Varpu Lindstrom. And she was writing about my hometown in the 30s during the Depression and what the women were doing. I'm like, that's the story. That's them. So what I found out was like the fun facts were okay. So some of the women were domestic workers. That makes sense, right? Like there wasn't a lot of work for women and so they would, go clean homes and, cook and do all those things. So my girls in the story, the two sisters are domestic workers. But I found it really interesting because a lot of the women were owners of boarding houses. So they rented out rooms. Okay, good way to make money, sure. And then some of them were bootleggers. Okay, that's fascinating. I like that. And
Right?
then some of them owned brothels. And I was like, okay. So these are not the stories my parents told me about the Finnish community when I was growing up. I didn't
Right?
know any of this. So of course, my young, well, they're not that young. They're in their early 20s. The two sisters end up living in a brothel because it's all they can afford. And one of the sisters disappears. Her body actually is found in Nolan Creek just after a late spring snowfall, and the other sister knows there's no way her sister could have crossed that ice no knowingly. She would never have done that. And so she thinks something bad happened and the police say no, it was an accident, it's just bad, she shouldn't have gone over the ice. And Essie's like, no, something happened. So there's an investigation into what happened to her sister and all kinds of
Yeah.
things get revealed. So it's historical fiction, but it's really a mystery.
It
And it was
sounds
so
like.
fun to write because I could go walk down the street of the places I was writing about. And it was so bizarre to just feel like, oh, I'm just in a whole other time period and can feel like what it would have been like in that space, It was great.
That would have been such a great experience as a
Yeah.
writer to do that.
So good.
Um,
Yeah.
Especially
It's
when it's a town that's familiar to you in the first place.
it's the
You
first time
know,
I've written about, well, I've written short stories set um in and around the area, and one of my books is half set in Northern Ontario and half set in Finland. So there's kind of like a dual timeline. But this one is solely set in that time period, in that place, in those neighborhoods that I know quite well. So it was really, yeah, it was really fun to do.